Hi everyone, we've had a really good question on the discussion board, so I just wanted to take an opportunity to go through one of the questions from this week's exercises. I'm looking at question 414, and what we have here is a classic probability question. We start off with some completely useless information, move into context, get into the guts of it, and then they ask you some questions that make no sense at the first pass. That's why we're here. So the question goes, Prince Windows Incorporated makes high quality windows for the residential home market. Okay, we don't care about this. This is useless information. Let's highlight that as yellow. Okay, recently 3 marketing managers were asked to assess the probability that the sales for the next year will be more than 15% higher. So 3, that's a good number. That's important stuff. Okay, that's N in this case. Okay. They were asked to assess the probability that the sales for the next year will be more than 15% higher than the current year. That's just the name of the variable, so that's not particularly useful, but it gives you a context. One manager stated that the probability of this happening was 0.4, the second manager assessed the probability to be 0.6, and the final manager stated the probability to be 0.9. So what method of probability assessment are the 3 managers using? In this case, they're using what's called a subjective assessment. It's not based on data or particular science, it's based on opinion. And a lot of decisions get made that way. It doesn't make them bad as decisions, but they are nonetheless subjective. Now, what's really interesting is which manager is expressing the least uncertainty in the probability assessment. Now, that one is a pretty confusing question first off. Firstly, I'll tell you the answer, and the answer is that it's the third manager who stated the probability to be 0.9. But that's not always a completely obvious reasoning there. So what I want to do is come over here and we'll just show you. So I'm just going to throw into Google, say, standard deviation of a binomial variable, which will eventually come up with the equation that I want. Okay, how to find the mean variance. Oh, look, even the dummies.com has got it. This is quite extensive. Here we go, blah 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 blah. Okay. The standard deviation of x is sigma, the square root of n times p1 minus p, for a binomial variable. Okay, in this case, we're actually just going to be looking at p1 minus p, the square root of that, because we've got just one case of this happening. So if I come over here, I'm going to show you why this is the case. Okay, first here I've got the probability of X happening. In this case, sales being up, the door slamming, my dogs behaving themselves. Okay, just some yes or no concept. And that probability could run anywhere from 0 to 1. So logically, the probability of X not happening is 1 minus that. So I've just done those here, and that runs from 1 to 0. If I calculate the standard deviation, in this case I've just used the square root of p times 1 minus p, because the n business doesn't matter in this case. Okay, here I've got the standard deviations, and you can see that it goes from 0 because over here, when the probability of x happening is 0, there's no uncertainty there. It's just 0. Whereas the probability when x happening is 1, no uncertainty there either. So what I've done is I've plotted these standard deviations, and you can see here that it goes up and the standard deviations are highest in the middle here and comes back down again. Okay, now let's just put this properly actually. Get a proper x-axis labels here so we can see what's going on. Okay, there we go. Alright, so you can see that that uncertainty, or the standard deviation, is highest here in the middle. So that's why we had one person of saying 0.4 and one person saying 0.6 and one person saying 0.9. Series I don't like, but anyway, we'll sort it out. And you can see that the least level of uncertainty, or the largest uncertainty is in the middle and the least is at the side. And that's why the answer to that part is 0.9. Now, if I go back to the question, part C, why is it that the 3 managers did not provide the same probability assessment? And the simple answer to that is we have different people with different ideas of the world, and that's why it's a subjective assessment. I hope that was helpful. and we'll catch you on the discussion boards.